Robert Allen Palmer was an English singer-songwriter and musician. He was known for his sharp dress sense and distinctive voice, and the eclectic mix of musical styles on his albums, combining soul, jazz, rock, pop, reggae and blues. He found success both in his solo career and with Power Station, and had top 10 songs in both the UK and the US. His iconic music videos directed by British fashion photographer Terence Donovan for the hits Addicted to Love, and Simply Irresistible featured identically dressed dancing women with pale faces, dark eye makeup and bright red lipstick, which resembled the women in the art of Patrick Nagel, an artist popular in the 1980s. Palmer's involvement in the music industry commenced in the 1960s, covered 4 decades and included a spell with Vinegar Joe. Palmer received a number of awards throughout his career, including 2 Grammy Awards for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance, an MTV Video Music Award, and was twice nominated for the Brit Award for Best British Male. 1964 Euro 1973, Early bands. Palmer's father was a British naval intelligence officer stationed in Malta. Palmer moved with his family from Batley to Scarborough, North Yorkshire in 1959. Influenced as a child by blues, soul and jazz music on American Forces Radio, Robert Palmer joined his first band, the Mandrakes, at the age of 15 while still at Scarborough Boys High School. His first major break came with the departure of singer Jess Roden from the band The Alan Bound Set in 1969, after which Palmer was invited to London to sing on their single Gypsy Girl. The vocals for the album The Alan Bound Set, originally recorded by Roden, were re-recorded by Palmer after the success of the single. According to music journalist Paul Lester, Palmer rose from northern clubs in England to become elegant and sophisticated, and the master of several styles. In 1970, Palmer joined the 12-piece jazz rock fusion band Dada, which featured singer Elkie Brooks. The band lasted a year, after which Brooks and Palmer formed the critically acclaimed but commercially unsuccessful rhythm and blues group, Vinegar Joe. Palmer sang and played rhythm guitar. Signed to the Island Records label, they released 3 albums, Vinegar Joe, Rock 'n' Roll Gypsies and 6 Star General, before disbanding in March 1974. 1974 Euro 1984, early solo career, Island Records signed Palmer to a solo deal in 1974. His first solo album Sneakin' Sally Through the Alley, recorded in New Orleans, Louisiana in 1974, was heavily influenced by the music of Little Feat and the funk fusion of the Meters, who acted as backing band along with producer-guitarist Lowell George of Little Feat. Although unsuccessful in the UK, both the album and single reached the top 100 in the US. Notably, Sailing Shoes, Palmer's own Hey Julia, and the Alan Toussaint Euro pen title track carry virtually the same rhythm, and were packaged on the album as a trilogy without a pause between them. After relocating with his wife to New York City, Palmer released Pressure Drop, named for the cover version of the reggae hit by Toots and the Maytals, in November 1975. An album infused with his interests in reggae and rock music, it was noted for its cover art of a nude woman on the threshold of a balcony, rather than any commercially successful songs. He toured with Little Feat to promote the album. However, with the failure of follow-up album Some People Can Do What They Like, Palmer decided to move to Nassau, Bahamas, directly across the street from Compass Point Studios. In 1978, he released Double Fun, a collection of Caribbean-influenced rock, including a cover of You Really Got Me. The album reached the top 50 on the US Billboard chart and scored a top 20 single with the Andy Fraser Euro penned Every Kind of People. The song has been covered by other artists including Checker Demerson Pliers, Randy Crawford and Amy Grant. It reached number 16 on the Billboard Hot 100. Palmer's next album was an artistic departure, concentrating on pure rock. 1979 Secrets produced his second top 20 single with Moon Martin's Bad Case of Loving You. The number 14 hit also gave Palmer his first Billboard Hot 100 year-end chart hit. The 1980s saw Palmer find an increasing amount of commercial success. The album Clues, produced by Palmer and featuring Chris France and Gary Newman, generated hits on both sides of the Atlantic, first with a radio-friendly single Johnny and Mary, and then Looking for Clues. Catchy music videos matching the synth-pop stylings of new wave gave him much-needed exposure to a younger audience. The success was repeated with the 1982 EP release of Some Guys Have All the Luck. In April 1983 Pride was released, which not as commercially successful as Clues did feature the title song and Palmer's cover of The System's You're in My System, with The System's David Frank contributing keyboard tracks to the latter song. On May 31, 1983, Palmer's concert at the Hammersmith Palais was recorded and broadcast on BBC Radio 1. On July 23, 1983, Palmer performed at Duran Duran's charity concert at Aston Villa Football Ground where he struck up friendships with members of Duran Duran, which would spawn the supergroup Power Station, 1985 Euro 1995, Power Station and MTV's success. Duran Duran went on hiatus, and their guitarist, Andy Taylor, and bassist, John Taylor, joined former Chic drummer, Tony Thompson, and Palmer to form Power Station. Their eponymous album, recorded mainly at the New York recording studio for which the band was named, with overdubs and mixing at Compass Point Studios in Nassau, Bahamas, reached the top 20 in the UK and the top 10 in the US. It spawned 2 hit singles with Some Like It Hot, and a cover of the T-Rex song Get It On, which peaked 1 position higher than the original at US number 9. Palmer performed live with the band only once that year, on Saturday Night Live. The band toured, and played Live Aid, with singer Michael Debars after Palmer bowed out at the last moment to go back into the recording studio to further his solo career. With Palmer bailing on the tour, some critics referred to it as unprofessional behavior. In Number One magazine he hit back at the claims he joined the band for money. Firstly, I didn't need the money, and secondly the cash wasn't exactly a long time coming. It wasn't exactly an experience that set me up for retirement. He also was accused of ripping off the Power Station sound for his own records. He snapped, "Listen, I gave the Power Station that sound. They took it from me, not the other way around." Palmer recorded the album Riptide at Compass Point Studios in 1985, recruiting Thompson and Andy Taylor to play on some tracks plus Power Station record producer Bernard Edwards, who worked with Thompson and Chic, to helm the production. Riptide featured the US number 1 and UK number 5 single Addicted to Love. The single was accompanied by a memorable and much imitated music video, directed by Terence Donovan, in which Palmer is surrounded by a bevy of near-identically clad, heavily made-up female musicians, either mimicking or mocking the painting of Patrick Nagel. In September 1986, Palmer performed Addicted to Love at the 1986 MTV Video Music Awards in Los Angeles. In 1987, he won the Grammy Award for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance for Addicted to Love. At the 1987 Brit Awards, Palmer received his first nomination for Best British Male. It seems he got the idea for the Addicted to Love video clip from an appearance he made on the Australian television show Countdown. According to the book Glad All Over, film director Ted Emery talks of the time Palmer came into the studio to promote the Dr. Doctor single in 1979. "We got so many warnings about him. We were told this man is not mainstream, he has a message. His song was Dr. Doctor, so I made the film clip, got all these models in lipstick and swimsuits. He came into the studio and all the dry ice starts flowing out and the models with the guitars start moving. Palmer looks around and the record company guy starts panicking. It hit the fan like you wouldn't believe. We had to pull it all down, change the look of the studio." Years later he used it in a film clip. Another single from Riptide, his cover of Cheryl's I Didn't Mean to Turn You On, also performed well. Another song, Trick Bag, was written by one of his major influences, New Orleans jazz artist Earl King. Concerned about the rising crime rate in Nassau, Palmer moved to Lugano, Switzerland, in 1987 and set up his own recording studio. Producing Heavy Nova in 1988, Palmer again returned to experimenting, this time with bossa nova rhythms, heavy rock and white soul balladeering. He repeated his previous success of Addicted to Love with a video of Simply Irresistible, again with a troupe of female musicians. The song reached number 2 in the US and was Palmer's final top 10 hit there. The ballad She Makes My Day also proved to be a hit in the UK, peaking at number 6. In 1989, he won a second Grammy for Simply Irresistible, which would later be featured in the Tony Award-winning musical Contact. At the 1989 Brit Awards, Palmer received his second nomination for Best British Male, and Simply Irresistible was nominated for Best British Single. Rolling Stone magazine voted Palmer the best-dressed rock star for 1990. Palmer expanded his range even further for his next album, Don't Explain. It featured 2 UK top 10 hits with covers of Bob Dylan's I'll Be Your Baby Tonight, a Euro collaboration with UB40, a Euro, and Marvin Gaye's cover Mercy Mercy Me. Throughout the 1990s, Palmer ventured further into diverse material. The 1992 album Ridin' High was a tribute to the Tin Pan Alley era. In 1994, Palmer released Honey to mixed reviews. While the album failed to produce any hit singles in the US, he did find success in the UK with the release of 3 modest hit singles, Girl You Want, Know By Now, and You Blow Me Away. In 1995, Palmer released a greatest hits album, which reached number 4 in the UK. In 1995 he reunited with other members of Power Station to record a second album. Bassist John Taylor eventually backed out of the project, to be replaced by Bernard Edwards. Palmer and the rest of the band completed the album Living in Fear, and had just begun touring when Edwards died from pneumonia. Literature. Palmer's favorite author was Jack Vance, and he was especially fond of the character Cougal. Jack Vance paid homage to Palmer in his novel Night Lamp, which begins, toward the far edge of the Cornu sector of Ophiuchus, Robert Palmer's star shone brilliant white, its corona flaring with films of blue, red and green color. Personal life. In 1993 Palmer permanently relocated from the Bahamas to Lugano, Switzerland, after he found that the islands were unsafe because of drugs and gun violence. The same year he divorced his wife, Sue. Death. Palmer died in a Paris hotel room from a heart attack on September 26, 2003 at the age of 54. He had been in the French capital after recording a television appearance in London for Yorkshire TV, a retrospective titled My Kinda People. He was survived by his parents, his son Jim and daughter Jane, and by his girlfriend Mary Ambrose. Among those who paid tribute were Duran Duran, stating, "He was a very dear friend and a great artist. This is a tragic loss to the British music industry." Discography, studio albums, 2012 reissues. On January 24, 2012 Culture Factory, an independent label, reissued Some People Do What They Like, Double Fun, Secrets and Pride in a miniature replica of the original vinyl packaging and with remastered sound. The reissues also had miniature obies, and the label on the CD is a replica of the original label. The reissues did not feature any bonus tracks and there were no new liner notes on the making of the albums included as part of the reissue campaign. Live albums, compilations, with Power Station, singles, references. External links, complete discography, BBC obituary.